Hello, and thank you for taking the time to attend our Experts on Tap series today. I'm Lewis Talley with InSource Solutions, and today I'm going to be talking about AVEVA Online Insight and guided analytics. Before we dive in and see specific guided analytics, let's talk about some other pieces and parts of the AVEVA APM portfolio. So you can see here we cover maintenance from the automated analytics all the way up to the advanced analytics with where you have trained, cleansed data with pattern recognition and using machine learning and artificial intelligence to be able to detect anomalies before they occur. So AVEVA Insight is going to cover the three areas of the circle that you see here, automated analytics up to guided analytics. So starting down at the bottom with the most simple is automated analytics. So automated analytics, you don't do anything to use. They just work out of the box. So when you log into the AVEVA portal, you'll notice that the system is automatically, from the data it's collected, drawing inferences from what it sees. So some examples are things like a temperature flat lines or some data that's out of a normalized, unexpected, or in an unexpected range rather. The system alerts you to what that is. And so you don't, like I said, you don't do anything. There's zero configuration. It just learns your data and starts to work. So climbing up the ladder a little bit, let's say that it spots an anomaly and you want to do something based on when that happens. And so that's where the condition-based rules come into play. And so I like to think of those as if I can draw an imaginary box around a set of conditions, such as a failure, then I can trigger some action to go do something when that happens. So it's a rules-based approach using known conditions and workflows. So the idea here is that users of the Insight platform can go create their own condition-based rules known as alerts and actions and do things based on them. So imagine a scenario where the operator detects a condition and they go in and add an alert that does something. And that the does something part can be send an email, generate a work order request. There's a number of different actions that are available as part of the Insight platform. And then we'll end on guided analytics. And so the idea here is I can't really draw a box around the exact failure because it's more complicated. There's a number of variables that go into causing a failure. It might be a motor or a pump failure, and there's a number of different things that could cause that failure. It could be voltage related, it could be temperature related, it could be bearing related. And so I can tell the system, these are the things that I want you to go look at, and then it can learn for patterns in that data using machine learning and artificial intelligence and let us know before a failure is going to occur. So I can sort of combine the two things. I can combine guided analytics with condition-based rules to say, hey, when I'm starting to trend towards a potential failure, let's send someone an email. So the idea here is, looking for repeatable failure patterns. So let's take a look at what that looks like in the portal itself. So here we are at the home page for the AVEVA Insight portal. And we can see here that there's a lot of content that's not going to be covered in today's webinar series. There's other webinar series that discuss what some of the capabilities around graphics and performance and trending and things that you can do. I'm focused specifically on the maintenance side of that piece. And so what we first notice is what I call the news feed here, which is the automated analytics, the unsupervised learning. So basically, you don't do anything here. When you start pumping data up to AVEVA Insight, it automatically learns your data. And so you can scroll through here, and the more you interact with the portal, the more it learns what you do. So you can say things like they're useful and not useful. So what the automated analytics will do is it will alert you when there are problems. So here's an example where you have some data that had flatlined. So it's just monitoring your data. You see that the data has flatlined, and you can make decisions based on that data. So you can go through and see that there's lots and lots of different things. So it's looking for patterns in your data. And again, the key here is there's nothing that you have to do. The system just learns your data for you and tells you when data is not where it's supposed to be. Now let's focus on a specific asset. And so from within the tool itself, you can come here and you can search for things, you can drill in through hierarchies. Because I know the name of something, I'm just going to type it in here. And you can have all sorts of predefined metadata about that data. So pump 1, motor 1, line 1, you can call it whatever you want here. But I'm going to go to what's called the asset page. And this just gives an overview of the individual asset that we're talking about here. So you can get to this a number of different ways. You can see everything about this asset from the asset overview page. You can see if there's any active alarms. You can see what content was built. So if there were pre-existing dashboards and trends and displays and things like that, you can see that. You can see what existing, so this is a public demo that runs out in the cloud. So lots of people go set up guided analytics models for this particular asset. So we can see what some of those were. We can even see any location information. So some of you may have seen, I have a little temperature sensor in our Richmond office where I put the latitude, longitude in it. So I can see a map of what the overall temperature was. You can see graphics, obviously, all kinds of really cool things that you can see here. So we don't really care about that for the purposes of today's demonstration. We care about the guided analytics model. So to do that, you come up here under the little caret under asset actions and you say, I want to add a guided analytics model. So it's a couple of steps that you have to go through, not any real heavy lifting. So I can come through here and I can search for tags or navigate through the hierarchy. In this case, I'm going to add a number of pre-existing tags for the condition, and I'm going to look at the current, I'm going to look at the vibration and the temperatures of the inboard and outboard bearing, as well as the vibration of the outboard bearing on the x-axis and the y-axis. So I'm going to add those 6 tags there. Now what this is doing is it's telling the guided analytics model, these are the variables that I think are going to be correlated, that could be the cause of a failure, but I want the machine learning to determine and detect that for me. So now I go through and I can give that a name. So you can give it any name that you want that's meaningful to you. And now the training window. So, it's important that I want to train the system with some historical data. So you can specify a time frame in here. Longer is better, but you don't have to put, a ton of data. So a month, 3 months is a good amount of data to put here. You could select a custom time frame as well. So I'll just leave all the defaults. Another really neat thing that you can do with this is you don't always want the guided analytics model running. So imagine if the asset was off because it was down because there was no production or down for maintenance or something like that. So I can actually come in and I can say, I want to put a filter on that says when this asset is not running. So in this case, I'll look at the amperage, right? So when the motor amperage is less than 25 amps, I want to ignore that from the model perspective. So that doesn't generate false indicators and things like that. So that's it. It's as simple as that to go through and set up a guided analytics model. Now, once that happens, the system is monitoring for and looking for those conditions and failures to occur. So now I will get something that you see here that's an asset score. So you can think of an asset score as a numerical grade from 0 to 100, which is the contribution factor that the guided analytics model had to a failure. Right? So in this case, this is an existing one. It only has 1. But if you had multiple variables like you see here, as I scroll through some of these, you can see that the system already has lots of them in there. You can see that anomaly score is how it contributed to the overall failure. You can hit the drop-down box here, and you can see for each one of the tags that were defined in the guided analytics model, what its anomaly score was and how it contributed to the overall. Right? So you can also go in and see what the trend of that value was for the last step, which is the condition-based monitoring. So in this case, 100, we know it's going to cause a failure, but we want to detect a failure and do something before the failure actually occurs. So in this case, if we click on the actual status bar itself, we can drill in and see an actual trend here. Now, it's going to pull all the tags for the asset, which I can actually come in here and turn off, because all I really care about, I don't necessarily care about the vibration, because the system is going to be using that in the guided analytics model to let me know an anomaly score. But what I care about is when this anomaly score starts to increase, I want to do something before it hits 100. So that's where the condition-based rules or condition-based monitoring, or the adding an alert comes into play here. So it's as simple as from when you're looking at a trend, you click on the little add alert, and then you drop on the trend itself where you want the alert to occur, which of course you can change later. And it's going to take you to another screen that lets you define all the behavior and configuration associated with the alert. So you can see it's pre-populated the condition with what the tag was, and it's equal to, in this case, I want to say when it's actually probably greater than 45, I could do something. So the do something is where this gets really powerful. So a really cool thing that you can do with this is you can have prescriptive actions associated with this. So if there is a known failure mode for this particular motor, right? Let's say there's some radial bearing failure modes. There's some prescriptive actions that I want to take that are associated with this. So I like to think of this as when this failure occurs, here's what I want you to do. So the way that this works is when I select these prescriptive actions, which are optional, you don't have to do this, this gets embedded in the email that gets sent or the action that happens, whatever, as a result of that. And the cool thing about this is Aviva has a very big template library of all these different failure modes and prescriptive actions for different types of pieces of equipment. So this is all pre-built into the technology here, so I can select through what I want. So in this case, I'm just going to go through and use these, and this will be sent to the operator or whoever I determine, in this case, which is the next step here. Who do I want to send that notification to? So in this case, I'm sending it to myself, but you could put other members of your team or etc. from within the portal. That's all configured from within the portal itself. And you can see these are the different actions that you see here. So you can go through and generate a work order request. I'm just going to use this to send a notification. So that's it. So now we're going to go through and look at what the summary of that is. And then we can click send alerts and we're done. So now I've set up a guided analytics model, which is going to monitor for and look for those failure conditions. And then when that happens, I'm going to generate an alert using condition-based rules that I've defined. So now if we go back to the home page, we'll see that the newsfeed now shows the anomaly detection with the guided analytics model that I've added. So this concludes the very brief overview of guided analytics. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you. Have a nice day.